You're listening to another ambitious entrepreneurnetwork.com podcast, the voice for entrepreneurs and small business. Now, onto the show.
Welcome to the Christian Entrepreneurs Podcast, daily conversations with Christian entrepreneurs to inspire and empower Christian business owners to walk strongly in their faith, while build a thriving business that honors Him in every way. Now, over to your host, Anne-Marie Cross.
Welcome to another episode of the Christian Entrepreneurs Podcast. This is episode 52, and I think I've just been kicked out. Let me get this back up. Am I still live? Hello, Megan.
I'm still here.
Okay, it's all right. I just got an error message, and it's one of those things, go with the flow. All right, you're still here. Fantastic. Well, let's wait for the beat of the music and we'll get this going again. So joining me on today's show is Megan Iemma, and she says, be open to opportunity. In fact, she herself has says yes to many opportunities, however, has thought at the time, how am I going to achieve, do, make, or perform? However, God has always seen her through, even if she didn't quite see it herself until she reflected back. Hindsight is such a wonderful teacher, isn't it? So yes, let's welcome Megan Iemma to the show. Let me share a little bit more about her background. Tech Coach HQ was set up as a digital coaching business 5 years ago in 2014 to help small business owners, entrepreneurs, and those in the corporate sector to use technology more productively and effectively. And she manages social media clients such as real estate, runs training sessions for organizations and individuals on specific technology topics, keynotes, and she also runs workshops at conferences. Now, on today's show, Megan is going to share find a mentor, be a mentor, be open to opportunity, as well as serve others. Welcome to the show, Megan.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Tech is something that many entrepreneurs sadly struggle with, and with so many changes, so many tech tools. I mean, we're using technology today. It really can keep them stuck from taking their business to the next level if they're not able to leverage all of these tools. But tell us, you've got a real passion for tech. How did you get into it? Was it something that you always loved to do?
I guess so. When I was doing my undergraduate degree, I sort of liked tinkering with technology. And then when I came out into my, I'm a teacher, qualified classroom music teacher, and I was starting to do a bit and became an Apple Distinguished Educator. So I was still in the classroom, then had my first child, and I didn't want to go back into the classroom yet. So someone offered me some consultancy work. And I realised it was just education in a different form. So then it started more as a consultancy back 2005, 2006, under a different sort of business name. And then Tech Coach HQ was set up in 2014 when someone offered me some work. And I thought, you know what, I could actually make a serious go of it, because I noticed there was such a huge need for a small business and later corporates and organisations to actually help them be, I guess, tech savvy in a nutshell. And I don't think that's changed.
No.
I think the needs of organisations has changed, but there is still that digital literacy, which is huge.
Ah, absolutely. I was going to ask you, what are some of the common struggles that you see? Because sometimes with tech, we don't actually know what we don't know. So things could be running far more effectively, far more time efficient if we know how to use our devices, but also the software appropriately. So what are the common mistakes or areas that you help your clients with?
Probably the top one is I do the research. I'm like a digital pharmacist. So someone goes, right, I've got this problem. I'm trying to do email marketing. And someone said I should use Infusionsoft. It's like saying, oh, you need to go and buy a BMW. Because there's different needs for different markets. It's the same with bookkeeping software or all those. And it's just something because someone says it's great, you really need to analyze your needs. And often I will do a digital analysis of a client's needs and go, well, actually, you only really need this. Yes. This will actually get you through. If you grow, that's fine. We can upgrade. But at the moment, like, here is 4 or 5 products. Here's the cost. here's why you should use it, and you make the ultimate decision. But I've done all the hard work.
Yes.
And then I'll often go and train the clients in that product.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I mean, we know each other from for a number of years now, and you've been on the show, the Ambitious Entrepreneur Show, a number of times sharing your tech tips, and it was always great because there were things like, I didn't know that, like using Word or something like that with an automation or a keyboard shortcut or something like that. And it's one of those things. Sometimes we just don't know what we don't know, but tech, speak a little bit about this, and then we're going to dive into the key areas you want to share today. Often we can be our own worst enemy, the way that we think about tech. Have you found that as well, that people will often put themselves off because they think it's going to be difficult to learn, yet when they sit with you and you show them the step by step by step, it's like, oh, it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be.
And it's often the case. And you know what the best thing about it is the ripple effect. So I'm thinking of one of my particular clients who's based in regional Victoria, and I just started working on one-on-one, and then she started training other people, like how to use Twitter or how to shoot videos. And she's really growing leaps and bounds. And she used to be like, no, I can't do tech. Now she goes, people her age. So she's probably, over 50. And she's like, why have you got this fear? Like, you just have a go, have a play. And that's where we forget. We forget to have a play and experiment and go from there.
Yeah. One of the things, and this is the reason why I continued, is one of the things that often put people off is what happens if midstream, like I'm doing something live and tech drops out. Well, that happened to me. I got an error message and I thought, have I lost everyone? You just keep going, pick up, because the thing is, I think we all experience that, but it's how we pick ourselves up and just continue to move forward.
It's almost performance anxiety, that's, from dealing with my many years of performing on stage for piano and conducting, anything can go wrong. So it's the art of bluff.
Yes.
Technology is not working.
And people will be sitting there really, kind of wooing you on and haranguing you on, because we all get to experience that from one time or another. And then as you continue doing it, it just becomes part of the normal course of the day. So let's dive into being a mentor, finding a mentor. Let's just make sure we're all on the same page. When you say mentor, what meaning is that for you?
For me, it's not coaching. It's actually asking specific questions. In the past, I've probably mentored. Well, I've mentored student teachers as part of my role as an experienced teacher. But I've also done formal mentoring with an organisation called VicICT for Women. It's a volunteer organisation. So I've done that for 3 years now. And having a slight break at this moment because I'm working on another project. But in my team, I'm mentoring anyway. So I don't see it like I'm not mentoring this year.
Yes.
I've got 2 student teachers at the moment. I met them the first time yesterday. And it's like, right, this is what you're doing. So a coach would ask those questions to get you to a place where they want you to go and for you to discover yourselves. Mentor is like, okay, this is what I want you to do. Let's dive into this topic. And so for me, the formal mentoring, it's just so great to see people grow and sort of find those uncomfortable spots, like being an accountability partner, going, I'm going to challenge you to do this.
Yes.
I think you can do this. I call them fairy godmothers. And I've been blessed. I can think of 2 people in my life, John Coleman, Sonia Kokolas. John's based in the States now. Sonia's based in Melbourne. And I know that if I really want to get uncomfortable, I'll just really ring those 2 and go, yeah, I'm really struggling with this issue. I can't see a way out. And they'll just go, oh, all you need to do is this, this, and this. And you're like, yep.
Yes.
Near that. I felt uncomfortable doing it, and it's that kind of point of uncomfortableness, but they challenge you. And someone explained mentoring is they see the best in you in that, like it's reflected back in their eyes. And I thought that was such a beautiful expression, just to know that they know I can succeed. And they go like, why are you making this so hard or make it so difficult? So, but I was challenged by a lady called Slaven to say, because I wanted to be a mentee when I first joined the program, VicICT, and it's like, oh, I want to be a mentee. I want to join it. And it's like, no, I want you to be a mentor. Like, really? That wasn't actually the plan I had. So, that reflection, looking back, it's been a great thing, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. That.
And with your relationships, like being a mentee and then also a mentor, is that something that you have done concurrently, obviously with different organisations, or is it, when looking back, you've been a mentor at one stage and a season, and then you've moved into being a mentee, or all of the above? How's that played?
I think in the past I've probably had a season where I needed to have the mentor. In a more formal sort of process. John, I've known since 2000. Since 2000 I've known John and Sonia. So that's 18 years. And so they sort of come back, like I'll call on them when I need them.
Yes.
Sort of thing. So at the moment, someone did challenge me that I probably need to seek a mentor. Perhaps my business or something like that. So I have had a business coach in the past, but like you said, it's a season. I can do it concurrently. I'd have no issue with that at the moment. And I have mentors for different needs.
Yes.
So I seek wisdom of like school people in my school environment. I've also got ones, I guess, for the business / leadership / personal and another. So yeah, I have different people for different needs, and it's the same with the mentoring for me as a mentor. So I'm a mentor currently at school because I'll have these 2 students teachers for the rest of the year. Plus, I've got this team project since we're managing till August. So.
And so what you said there, I think, is really great. So there may be a need, there may be a skill, there might just be something that you're wanting to develop, even from a mindset place. So you recognize someone who really does model that, the knowledge or just the whole approach and attitude in their work. How would you go approaching them? I know that in some instances, mentor and mentee relationships are paid for, so there's a formal arrangement. And there can also be one where it's less formal, there's no money exchange. But obviously in that instance, you've got to find a suitable time that the mentor then is able to fit that in. So what have you done? Have you recognized someone and then approached them? Like, what did you say? Because that can sometimes be a little bit daunting when you're not really sure how to approach them.
It is an awkward thing. And you've also got to be conscious of their workload. I know there's one lady in particular who I would love to be mentored because I just admire her gutsiness, where she's got to, but I'm very conscious she's time poor. So basically I've said, if you're in town, she's based in Sydney, if you're in town, I'd love to catch up for a coffee. Yeah. And that's as far as, I guess, the wisdom. So yeah, sometimes as with Vic ICT, it is a formal sort of relationships in that there is no payment. You have a mentor for a year. And they go through and they do a matching process. So if you are looking for someone that, like, you really respect, have that open conversation. What's your time commitment? And I think that's a really important one because I said I would have normally done the Vic ICT program this year, but I'm already out one night a week with Go Girls. So and my commitment's there. So I knew I couldn't commit. And then plus I've got now, I guess, as student teachers at school. So for me, I've ticked that. And also it's an emotional energy from mentee and mentor. Yes. So you have to have the headspace. If you're changing jobs or things like that, or you're working on massive projects, there's some amazing people who, like I said, I normally used to have I actually used to have normally 2 mentees a year. But and you try and catch up with them twice a month, like as in one each sort of mentee. And then just go from there.
Yep. And then the hour or the time that you spend is half an hour, an hour?
Probably an hour per. And because especially they were in the corporate workforce, excuse me, it was 1 hour was enough because I back-to-back meetings or I'd come in and I'd be flexible. I don't usually do it on my day off from school. And I'd be like, right, okay, it's this time to this time. And because I'd have back-to-back meetings. So, be conscious of people's time, I think, is a really also wise piece of advice.
Yes.
And sometimes it was a phone conversation or sometimes a Skype or FaceTime.
Yeah.
Just because of physicality.
Yeah, and I love this conversation because I think, if you recognize this, as we said earlier, there's an attitude, an approach, a skill set that you would love to have that knowledge imparted. It really is looking at what fits both. If it is something that they're willing to mentor you in, set the time limits, be very respectful of their time, and it can be whatever you decide could be. It can be phone, it can be in person. We've got great tools such as we're using today in Zoom that allows you to still see face to face, but not necessarily be in the same location. So it's definitely something, food for thought for people to consider, particularly as we're, learning and growing and developing in our business and our personal lives. Let's talk about being open to opportunity. This can be really scary, particularly I think, as you so wonderfully said, there's been times where you've said yes to opportunities and then it's kind of like, why did I say yes? Then God has provided. Share a little bit more about some of the things you said yes to, and then they all just worked out at the end.
I guess where I really started to see was back in 1998, so 20 years ago. I didn't get into Tas Uni for music. I got into Melbourne Uni. So that was a bit of a shock. We weren't expecting that. The family wasn't expecting that. So I had to leave Tasmania. I had to leave Devonport to come here to Melbourne. So that was a massive rush because we found out sort of it was the last minute, and I thought, leaving my family behind and things like that. I had no support network in Melbourne. We had a family friend, and that was pretty much it. And I moved to International House, which is a residential hall. And you just look back and you go like, oh, do I really want to give up my music? I don't, you put me in a new place, and now I look back and all the connections and networks and opportunities just I had through the college for 3 years, because I lived at the college for 3 years, and was quite sick at one stage through that time. So, you look back and you go, and that's how I met my mentor, John, was an alumni resident, and that's how I met him. So, and then I just said, yes to catching up with him. And I said, like, well, why would you want to catch up with me? Like, I'm just a student. And it just happened that we were born 21 years apart on the same day, 21 years apart on the 21st of November. So, that's a God-given moment if you never want to say one. So, and so many of the things like the program, you and I were both, and I could have said no. I could have said, look, it's a bit out of my league. Am I really important enough to influence other people? And that it's like someone, you say yes, and then someone's tapping you on the shoulder going, no, you really can't do that. You're not good enough. But then you reflect back. I teach Year 6 digital tech, and my kids go, Mrs. Iemma, you're famous. We found you on the internet. And if I'm a role model for them, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. And so there's lots of projects like this one I'm on, and I was rung last year and said, look, we want you to be part of this program. We don't have any educators on the team. We think you'd be great. Like, are you sure about this? Like, I read the project description, must have 5 to 10 years of agile management experience and can handle teams of more than 10, and all like, oh.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't know the level of your skills and your strengths and your tenacity and all of that till you're actually thrown in the deep end. And I think often we can talk ourselves out of opportunities because we reflect and we measure ourselves. And when we continue to do that, we'll never know, we'll never grow because we don't put ourselves in those opportunities. So looking back, and I think hindsight can often be the best teacher when you realize just how much you've grown, and every experience just reinforces, I think, the confidence to say, you know what, well, I did it then, I can do this again. And if I need to find out and learn, we've all got the ability to be able to do that. But looking back, have there been, one or two really important insights for you that you can share with people today? Because I think this is one area, particularly women, who stop themselves from saying yes to opportunities because they measure themselves against, this self-developed level of whatever, and we often set our bar way, way, way too high. So what insights can you share today?
Have a go. It's like eating yucky vegetables. Sometimes you don't want to eat them, but it's okay. So, and I also figure if you don't learn the first time, my favorite saying is, God's chiseling us away. And if we haven't learnt the first time, it's going to come back in some other form. So sometimes it's easier to just take the lesson as it is. People ask me, why do I do speaking? How can you get up in front of an audience? For me, the larger the audience, the better. But it comes back to my performing roots and my conducting roots. And yes, sometimes I think, oh, did I really do a good job at that? And it's that after. It's always after for me. I'll run into things or do things. I'm like, and sometimes the feedback isn't always great. But and that's where, sometimes I struggle and I've had to stop and go, well, was the lesson I'm trying to, and it's fear. And it's often fear. What am I going to fail at? And talking that through with my husband, who's also my business partner. What am I trying to get out of this? And then I said, like with Vic ICT, I said, I'm going to deliver that project. And I'm going to influence people in my team in a really positive way.
Yes.
And use my experience as an educator, because that's, I'm the only educator on the team. So that's my thing I can bring. But everybody's got a gift. And I think that's where we've often put ourselves down. It's those gifts, like, it's gift of hospitality or whatever. But it's having the opportunity to learn and lead, and you never know who's watching.
And who you can impart knowledge to and inspire and empower. And, as you're sharing that, I mean, there may be some times where we recognize, and I think self-awareness is one of the biggest gifts we can give ourselves, because once we recognize where God really has given us the skills and strengths, then we can, if there's opportunities, for instance, while I love kids and while I can be with them, for me in a teaching role with small children, I would be in there half an hour, they're screaming, I would just be like zonked. But put me in front of, give me a microphone in my hand or something like that, I would love that, because that's just an area that I shine. So I think when opportunities come our way that we recognize, that's not quite the best use of my skill, we can make that decision in a far more empowering way for ourselves and also for others too. And I think there's a balance there. But and what we're talking about, of course, is if we know that we've got various skills, even though they may not yet be to the point where we've really developed them, it's important to say yes, because we'll learn and grow from that. And what we impart in the support and the information we're sharing with others can be a huge difference. And I think, often we don't recognize that, and people need to hear our message or get our support. Like if you weren't out sharing the message on how to, or taking a training class, delivering one on how to use various technologies, I'm sure many of the clients that you've worked with would still be stuck tearing their hair out, not knowing how to do things. So it's important, isn't it? For sure. Let's talk about serving others. Sadly, this is something that so many people don't recognize the huge benefit. I think a lot of the world is still, me, rather than us, we. Speak a bit more about that.
So my biggest thing, I guess, is it comes back to the gifts, but like it's those 5 love languages. What do you like to have done for you, and what do you like to do for others?
Yes.
So, for example, I love, I'm known as the baking queen at my school because I love baking scones once a week for my colleagues. And I love seeing the joy on someone else's face when they've had a bad day and they come in and there's scones on the table. Like there's, scones with jam and cream and stuff. So, but I do it because I love the gift of hospitality. But in my sense, both as a teacher and as a musician, because I'm the music director of my church, people go, "Oh, you're an amazing musician," but they don't see the other gifts. And so I always have this challenge between the gifts that you like and the gifts that people see or want to see. Want to see is the other one.
Isn't that interesting? Let's just talk about the 5 love languages, because a few people that I have met haven't heard of those, and it is such an eye opener Do you want to share what they are for people?
So, if I can remember, there's acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time. Okay, I've got the three. Touch, and can't remember the other one.
No, so being gifts.
Gifts.
Yes.
So for me, I like done personally words of affirmation and gifts, depending on what mood I am.
Yes.
But I love if someone's written me a handwritten note, or my husband's written me a card with, really encouraging words. I love that. Words, if someone's actually taken the time to do that. Last year we had a secret guardian angel thing at school, and someone had bought me a simple box of chocolates, but had wrapped it in tissue paper and had written the entire message on the tissue paper.
Oh, yes.
And it was really, and it was more than the chocolates. That meant, like, I just wanted to keep the tissue paper where she'd written.
Yes.
Because it was.
Well, it would have touched all of those key areas.
So it was a gift. Yeah, so it was a gift and words of affirmation. So that was a double bonus. But the things that I like doing for others would have to be acts of service.
Yes. Yeah. What's really interesting about this is that, if we're thinking about business, I mean, this is in relationships. If we don't know our partners, our spouse's love language and our children's love language, we need to, because when people feel loved, we can influence them as well. I know my daughter, she loves having breakfast made because she is acts of service. And it wasn't until I realized, because she would just melt, I'll make you breakfast. Oh, how they, she's a 20-something-year-old, but for her, it just means a lot. But we can use it in business too. When we take the time to understand what our clients individually appreciate, like words of affirmation, imagine if they did it, like you said, a handwritten card, or if someone loved gifts, something special out of the blue. Those are the kind of things that we really can solidify the relationship with, to continue to really provide that standout service, and of course, as we know, Jesus, that's what we are here to do, of course, is to serve others above ourselves. So if someone today has been listening to you and they know that they're struggling with their IT and all social media, share a little bit more about the services that you offer and how people can get in contact with you.
So the business website is www.techcoachhq.com.au. I can be found on all the Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn platforms. But my service is, one of the things that I'm passionate about is doing one-on-one or a small group digital coaching. So it might be how to use social media, how to do your Facebook ads. It might be how to improve your productivity, how to manage your data, like in terms of knowledge management, how to keep everything together. It might be how to use your mobile device better, so because you want to be mobile, how to make things better, or apps or things. And you'd be surprised at my clients. It might be someone goes, I've got no idea how to use Facebook. Everybody keeps telling me off. And I just sit down with them and go, really simplify. It's like, oh, is that all it is? So it can vary. As I said, I do social media management, and one of my passions is actually educating real estate agents on how to use social media. So I run training sessions for REIT in Tasmania.
Yes.
And on technology and just knowing that that's one of my niche industries. And obviously teachers. My biggest passion is empowering teachers, because if we empower teachers, they're going to pass it on in the classroom.
Oh, absolutely. And they are nurturing the next generation. So, and kids these days, they are so tech savvy, aren't they? They're almost born and given different devices and things like that. So, and we live in a digital world, and who knows what we're going to be using in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time. It's really incredible. Well, thank you so very much for coming on the show and having a chat. And there's just so many insights, I think, in hearing other people share their stories. One of the things that I do for all of my guests, and I would be honoured to do that with you today, Megan, is just say a word of prayer just as we finish up the show. May I do that for you as well?
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Father, for the opportunity to speak with Megan, hear her passion for the work that she does. Lord, we just want to continue to bless all of the work she's doing with her clients and the work that she does at her school. I think that as teachers and educators of our youth, it's such an important role. So we pray also too for the school and other schools and teachers too, because they really are nurturing and teaching the next generation of people and stewards, particularly those who know you, Lord, up and coming and really make an impact in the world. Father, there's so many different topics we talked about today. Very important, getting a mentor, being a mentor, saying yes to opportunities that are aligned with the calling and purpose that you have for us. As well, of course, is always going with the heart, the mindset of serving others just as Jesus did for us. We ask this in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a delight. All of the other shows, of course, that we did together were audio only. So
this is the first video. It's amazing.
The video as well. So I can't use the saying that I used to say, you can never have a bad hair day with the audio podcast. So anyway, but it's been fun. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Christian Entrepreneurs Podcast, brought to you by BeTheDifferenceMovement.com. Changing the world one message at a time. Do you feel called to influence real change with your message? Join our supportive community of like-minded influencers, thought leaders, and disruptors at www.BeTheDifferenceMovement.com. That's BeTheDifferenceMovement.com.